Okay, so here's a sample of a lesson using Prezi and a screen recorder that I'm able to use in a classroom setting, as well as post it to YouTube or other online sites that students can access anytime. I could even post it onto a website if I have a website. So I'll go ahead and get started. Today, let's move to 15th century exploration. Now, I've told you several times, on several occasions, that history is documentation of problem solving. Civilizations were able to put down on paper what they were able to do to solve things. So, exploration is no different. Exploration was a result of problems that Europeans faced in transferring goods from one country to another, mainly from Europe all the way over to China. Let's look at that for a few minutes. How did Europeans solve these problems? How are they doing it to begin with? Well, let's check that out. First of all, when the Europeans transferred goods, they had to transfer it over land. Now, what made exploration necessary? The transport of goods to Asia became very expensive. Now, here's why. Up until the 15th century, this is the main track that Europeans took, and also Easterners took, to get their goods from the east to the west, and of course vice versa. They had what was called the Silk Road. It was the main transport route, and it was on land. It was very dry, very hot, many deserts, very hard terrain, and they had to do it in small groups. Those groups had to be very well armed because on this passageway, there was all kinds of dangers involved. Because of the Muslim rule in the area, and because of bandits, it became very difficult to get these goods to and from Europe. And the Silk Road became a very dangerous route to take. So there had to be another way. The Silk Road was just not, it became very, very expensive for people to move goods from Europe to the east this way. Well, they decided the other option was to sail around the southern tip of Africa. Now this started to work as well. A lot of navigators felt like that they could do that, but it was also a dangerous passageway too. It was a very long route to take. Ships early in the 15th century were not well made. Of course, they had a very hard time. Most of the ships were were only made to sail the calmer waters of the Mediterranean, not the harsh waters of the Atlantic Ocean. So we get towards the latter part of the 15th century, and a gentleman by the name of Christopher Columbus steps into the forefront. Now, Christopher Columbus was very well known. He had been sailing since he was a teenager, and he studied astronomy. He studied the art of map making, which was cartography. Also cosmography, which was also charting and mapping the stars. So he was a very strong believer in using astronomical features, the stars, to move about, and that's how he navigated. Now, Christopher Columbus had this strong notion that he could navigate ships across the Atlantic Ocean and get to the east a lot faster than having to go down through the southern tip of Africa and through the Indian Ocean and to India. Of course, he miscalculated, but yet he did have a strong notion that he could do that. And even though he miscalculated his trip to the Eastern Indies, he was able to open up a wide ability to navigate to a new world, a new continent. He had no idea there was a continent standing in his way of the East. He thought that the Earth's size was a lot smaller. And of course, he thought most of the land had already been discovered, mainly Europe and Asia. He didn't think of all the other continents involved, mainly the Americas, South America, North America. So what had happened was he believed he could get to the East Indies by sailing westward. And of course, eventually it could happen, but not for Columbus. And this is the map of the Indies, mainly China, India. He was equipped with very strong vessels for that time, mainly the Santa Maria, which was the larger vessel, and the Nina and the Pinta. The Nina and the Pinta were a lot more sleeker. They were faster ships built by the Portuguese. They were also called caravels. But he set sail mainly on the Santa Maria, and followed along with the Nina and the Pinta. What made Columbus so successful is that, number one, of course, he had that desire. He knew he could travel the Atlantic Ocean. He had good vessels, but probably the most important thing, what made him successful, was he was able to make it back. And in the 1400s, when you don't have internet and cell phones, today you can communicate around the world in a matter of seconds. But in Columbus' time, he spent over a month on the Atlantic Ocean, and no one knew if he was safe. No one knew if he was successful. But he was able to accomplish the navigation of the Atlantic Ocean, not only to discover a new world, but he was also able to navigate 2 ships back safely, so that other people would know that it is a possibility. So it was a lot more dangerous, or there was a lot more problems during the 1400s than what you and I probably expected. Diseases, so many days out on open water, food supplies, fresh water. All these things became very problematic for Christopher Columbus. Originally, he thought the trip was only going to take about 10 or 11 days. It ended up taking him over a month to get to the New World. And then again, he never got to the East Indies like he expected. But what he had done was open up a new trade by opening up the Catholic Church to become to spread their religion to the natives of the New World, open up trade with the Indians of that area, discovery of some gold. Okay, fur trade became very big, and all this as a result of Columbus and his voyages. Also after that, it opened up exploration for the French, for the English, and also the colonization of the New World. So this is this is the lesson today. This is the lesson today. Of course, this will be online for you to review again. And of course, we will discuss this more later on. Thank you.